I believe that love and story are two of the most powerful things on the face of this planet. Now, I don't know any of you, and you don't know me, but I know a little something about you. Every day, you wake up on a box. You wake up on this box, and you get up out of that box, and you go check yourself in another box. You check yourself in that box, and then you probably go downstairs, and you open a box. You pull out a few more boxes, eat a little something, and then you get into a box. You get into this box, you drive all the way across town, leaving your big box behind, and you get to that box, and you get out of your box, go into that box, go up a box probably, and then you go to a box and you sit in a box for about 8 hours a day. You stop sitting in that box, you get back into that box, go back down, get into your box, drive back across town all the way to your big box, go into your big box, open that box up, pull out a few more boxes, and then sit on a box and look at a box for the rest of your night until you get back into that box again and start your day all over again. Your life has been filled with boxes. But something is missing from that element of boxes. Something is missing. You've gone to school, you got good grades, you graduated, you came out, you got a great job, you probably got a car, and you got a house. And if you're lucky, you probably got a dog that's named Fluffy. But something is still missing from your life. That thing is love. That thing that you crave, that you desire, that thing that you know that you're supposed to have, the sense of belonging, the sense of connection, the sense of affection, the sense that everything is going to be okay, and you'll be with someone who gets you and understands you wholeheartedly. Love. But you don't want just love. You want to be in love. You want to be in love to the fullest and the utmost potential. You want to have that yearning and that thing that is always there in your life. You want to have that connection and that closeness that's always there. You want to have that long-lasting love that's going to be in your life forever. You want to laugh with the person that you want to be the happiest with. Love. But what science and psychology has often taught us is that love doesn't last. It's taught us that love is nothing more than a euphoric emotional high that simply goes away in 2 years or less. And oftentimes when it goes away, it sometimes goes away in a disastrous fashion. So you experience heartbreak, you experience hurt, you experience pain, and in some kind of way, it ends in you doing these crazy things like binging on romantic comedies or doing something in terms of boxes of tissue or sending angry text messages to your ex. And if you're really lucky and you're heartbroken enough, you'll probably end up creating fake Facebook pages and Instagram pages simply so you can stalk on your ex's page without being noticed, sort of like this guy. But how did you get here? How did the intensity of what started so well and so emotionally expensive and expansive wind you up in a space like this? Well, it's because you haven't realized where your stories come from. Where have the love stories that you've been telling yourself systematically every day come from? As we toddle through childhood, from tricycles to training wheels, racing into the mazes of adolescence where we're too old to be considered children and too childlike to be considered adults. There are daunting questions that lay dormant in the back of our mind, and we ask ourselves every single day. And one is so big, and that question is, who am I? And that question was typically answered by people that were surrounding you in your life, people that were always there, people that were always present, like your parents, your family, your teachers, mentors, friends, giving you messages and signals about who it is that you are, that were forming all of these stories to create these images and messages about your life, about your love, about everything that you could even exude as an individual. And they would premise them with asking you questions like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Are you dating anyone? Will you ever get married? How many children do you want? And here's my favorite one. If you're not married and you don't have any children, then the questions start getting a little bit bolder. And they'll say, so, you're about 30 now. What's wrong with you? But those questions are always there. And the examples, the exposure, and the experiences that we've had throughout our lives are what formulate our level of expectations about our life and about our love. We're nothing more than a collection of inner stories that we tell to ourselves every single day. Those stories help determine and decipher and dictate your habits, your attitudes, beliefs, and expectations of love and of life. So, what's your story? What's your love story? I mean, really, have you ever thought about it at all? What is your love story? I tell you what, that's a really hard question, so I'm going to ask it in a way that you could probably answer it a little bit easier. Let's just say that there was a Hollywood director, and he had a suitcase full of money, and he came up to you and he said, hey, I want to direct the love story of your life. What would you tell him? Where would you start? Where would you begin? Would it be the past stories that you had, the past relationship, or would it be the future relationship? Would it be the current relationship? What would the setting be? Were you in college? Were you living in your parents' basement? Were you at school? Were you at work? Who would the characters be in this story? I don't really understand. I don't really know. It's your story. How about maybe was the person cheating? Were you divorced? Were you breaking up? Did you get caught in the supply closet at work with your coworker by the maintenance guy? I don't know. You've got some crazy stuff that goes on in your life, so I don't know what kind of kinky stuff that you've actually been doing. But the truth is that it's your story. And there are millions of stories, millions of possibilities that actually exist, and there's an infinite number of stories. But here's something that I found over the course of the research that I've done, the studies that I've had, the hundreds of clients that I've been able to counsel and coach, and all of the training that I've been able to do. There aren't too many stories out there. In fact, there are only about 7. 7 love stories that everyone has, including you, that you fall into in everything that you talk about in life. A good percentage of us, not everyone, but the majority of us fall within these 7 love stories. And I know you're sitting here thinking, well, Jack, I'd love to hear what they are because I want to know where I am. Glad you asked. So these stories, number 1 is the fantasy story. You've all heard this. It's the hopeless romantic. It's the person who has this idea that they're going to be swept off of their feet by somebody that's going to come in and rescue them and take them away from all of their hardships and hard times. Then there's the business story. You know this one very well. It's the partnership. It's the person who looks at this as a 50-50 joint venture. They have rules, they have responsibilities, they have roles, and they have everything that they're supposed to do in terms of this relationship. In fact, those are people that are prestigious. They have power, and they have profitability, and that's what they're interested in. Then there's the shopper. The shopper is the person who is the commitment phobe. They absolutely are emotionally unavailable, and they date multiple people or multiple times, and they will not commit to you in any shape, form, or fashion. Then there's the fixer. The fixer is the person that is probably you, and they have in their mindset that they want to fix everyone's problems. Someone that maybe has gone through a divorce, they've gone through a breakup, they've gone through financial loss, and the fixer is there to fix that problem, or sometimes fix themselves. Then there's the warrior, and of course you know the warrior. They're arguing, they're fighting, they're fussing, and all of those types of things. Then there's the sex story. That's the person who all she wants is just sex. They objectify their partner. They objectify the relationship because that's all they want out of it. Then, of course, I hope this is not you, but there's the untrusting detective. This is the person who, in some shape, form, or fashion, has been hurt throughout their lives, and they have nothing to do, but their mission is to check every step that you make. They're checking your cell phone. They're checking your emails. They're checking, where have you gone? Where are you? What time are you getting here? I'm looking at your Facebook status, and it says you're here. That's the untrusting person. But here's the thing. You might be one of these people, but the problem is that you're mixing the stories. The story can't go, the shopper can't go with the sex habit person. The fantasy can't get with the fixer. The war story can't get with the business. So what happens is when you start mixing the stories and you don't have someone that's compatible with your story, you end up dating someone without the potential of loving you. But there's good news. And the good news is you can find someone who loves you. You can find that love and that happiness. And that comes from finding someone with a compatible story as yours. If you're a fixer and you find a fixer, well, guess what? You can fix each other. If you're a business story and she's a business story, guess what? We can be a power couple. We can have profit, we can have prestige, we can have political element, we can have substance. But if you don't find someone who has a compatible story as you wind up heartbroken. So here's the deal. New beginnings happen in every shape, form, or fashion. And now that you know what you know, you can't go backwards. Because the red flags that you see are very dangerous in the relationships that you've been having. The red flags that you see, you cannot ignore them any longer. You have to do the due diligence, and you have the responsibility to honor your relationship in the way that it's supposed to be honored. So here's what I need you to do. No more excuses about what it is that you can and you can't do. And just to be clear, an excuse is nothing more than a sophisticated lie that you secretly tell yourself and then try your best to sell to other people. I'll say it again because someone needs to write that down. An excuse is nothing more than a sophisticated lie you secretly tell yourself and then try your best to sell to everyone else. Stop making them about the person, about your relationship. Stop using your ego to feel like you can fix and change someone. There's a possibility that you will not and that you'll end up heartbreaking. Stop lying to yourself about the person that you're dating, trying to make them into something that they're not. Find someone that has a compatible story. Because you'll never unlock your destiny if you stay stuck in your history. So this is me. And it's a very interesting picture. I actually did a tour, and I wore this shirt everywhere I went. I needed a wife. So I wore it everywhere I went, and I toured all the way around the country, and I got back, and I got off tour, and then I fell in love. I met a girl. And I couldn't believe that I was in love. I did everything I possibly could to woo her, to honor her, to cherish her, and I found myself at a poetry jam or slam. Someone invited me to come speak at this thing. I've never done poetry before in my life, and it was my chance and my opportunity to do it. So I got up on stage. I totally embarrassed myself, totally made a fool of myself because I wanted to impress her. She had a compatible story, the same as mine, and I really wanted to impress her. And I did everything I could to make her believe and understand that you gonna be my girl and I'm gonna be your man. And guess what? She listened. I got a standing ovation. My palms were sweaty. Everything on my body was dripping wet. I got a standing ovation. And eventually, I kept pursuing her. I kept going after her because our stories were compatible and I believed in love. And eventually, the best part about this story is she said yes. I married that girl. So my cue to you is to don't waste another 10 years of your life trying to figure out love. I mean, you have to ask yourself, this is your movie. You can do whatever it is that you want. This is your movie. But ask yourself, what love story have you been acting out? What hasn't been working in your love story? And then once you get there, what story do you want to live the most? What do you want to live the most? Not the one that you've been lying to yourself about, but what do you want to live the most? I tell you this, that you have the power to recognize the red flags in all the relationships that you've been doing. You also have the power to recast some of the characters that you've been positioning into your story. After you recast them, you then have the power to rewrite what it is that you know that you're supposed to be living, regardless of what has happened in the past. Your love story is so powerful. It's so amazing. So I don't know what you believe, but I believe that two of the most powerful things in this world are love and story. I don't know which one of these stories that you've been living. I don't know which one of these stories that you've cast yourself into and that you've been casting characters in your life into, but I tell you this, it's time for you to rewrite that story, recast that story, and start living the life that you deserve. And whichever one it is, I encourage you to have the courage to do something different, the conviction to believe that you could actually accomplish it, and then the commitment to finish what you start. That's the essence of staying out of your own way. And once you stay out of your own way, make sure that you live the love story of your dreams. But most importantly, make sure you get a dog named Fluffy. Okay. That's my love story. But I want to know what your love story is.